Well, good morning, folks. Today we're going to talk about persistence. We all think we know what that means, but do we really know what that means? All right.
Persevere.
Dr. Angela Duckworth wrote, most of us quit what we start far too early and far too often. Even more than the effort that a gritty or a persistent person puts in every single day, what really matters is they wake up the next day and the next day, and they're ready to get back on that treadmill and keep going. That's what we're going to look into today. My guest today is my friend, Dr. Joanne White. Now, she is an international multiple #1 best-selling author. She's a speaker and a consultant. Her two most recent books are two anthologies, Dare to Dream, Women and Men Who Refuse to Let Their Dreams Die, and Mission Hope, Thriving Through Seasons of the Soul. Now, as the CEO of Dr. Joanne White Consulting, LLC, she teaches people how to overcome adversity and turn challenges into opportunities while helping businesses and organizations build unified teams to create more personal and professional success. This is one incredibly qualified individual. If you are in need, this is the lady you need to know. So, Dr. White, welcome to Life Altering Events.
Thank you so much, Frank. That was very wonderful. I'm blushing. So you said persistence, which really integrates with perseverance. And we're going to look at both of them today because that's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The perseverance, that's the word I should have used. Perseverance means a whole lot of things to a whole lot of different people. So how would you define it?
Okay, so perseverance is never giving up. It's moving forward. We all have challenges, and you and I know that personally, and working with other people. We have challenges, we have setbacks, we have doubts, whatever. But no matter what, we keep moving forward. And that's the key here, Frank, and you and I know that, because if you give up, you're stuck. And you may not be able to look at an opportunity again. But if you persevere, despite the fact that, oh, that didn't work right, or oh, I should have done that better, or whatever, you can keep on going. And it's that forward movement, that forward direction, no matter what just happened or happened years ago or whatever, that really motivates us towards success and towards getting what we need and getting what we want.
Absolutely. That's a great definition. Now, we all see so many people that some people are able to do this and some don't. So why do some people persevere and others don't?
Well, there are many reasons. Firstly, sometimes people focus on the failures. Okay, so that went wrong. I'm no good at anything. I can't do it. I can't, and that's what stops them. And you also have to change that thinking, okay, so I had a failure, and I've experienced some in my past, and we'll share some of that later on, right? But to just let that define us, what would happen to our lives, to our relationships, to how we feel about ourselves. So it's really about recognizing, no matter what, we can do this, and to not allow those doubts or those judgments from other people or even our own judgments make us feel that we're not capable of shifting, of getting past the failures, of getting past what didn't work. And that's important. Sometimes what didn't work, you may be able to pull a slice of that or a piece of that out and move it forward. And wow, something beautiful happens. And it's like, yeah, that's incredible. So that's really important. And also people need to recognize that they have to be able to be their own cheerleader a little bit. I mean, there may be people that don't agree with you, or that don't think you're going to be able to do something, or that don't believe in what your project is or what your goal is, but you have to believe in it. You have to decide that this is something that I really want, I really desire, and I'm going to move forward. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. That doesn't mean that it's totally a wash up.
Absolutely. That's terrific input. Now, one of the things I hear a lot, Joanne, is I can deal with my own issues, but the world dumped on us 3 years ago. So now we have this very turbulent time in history. There's so much pain, there's so much trauma, so much disappointment. The outside world is having more of an impact. Now, what do I do? How do I persist?
You know, Frank, that's a good question, because we are affected by what goes on around us. We just don't live in a place where that doesn't matter. But again, it's what we do with it. You know, so many people, despite what's going on with the last few years with COVID, so many people have found ways to create more joy for other people, to create more of a sense of community. More stuff is happening online than ever before because of that, because a lot of people weren't able to meet in person. And again, we can say, oh, this is it. We can't do anything. What's the use? And let that make us feel miserable and make us feel that life is hopeless. But I think having that sense of hope and being able to recognize that we still need community, and there's a way of creating community, and you do that beautifully. And it's also important to be able to make sure that we're connecting with people and helping other people. I think we move past that and see that despite the challenges, and there are going to be some, this was a huge one, right?
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that it just makes the whole world stop. It means that we have to make adjustments and have to move forward despite that. And I think that's perseverance.
Now, I love what you said there, because you have to make a decision to move forward. Now, that takes an awful lot of mental strength and mental fortitude. How do you help people do that, to get to that point?
Well, firstly, it's a mindset, you know, and everybody has a different sense of what mindset is. A mindset is a little bit of an attitude and a belief system that you have within yourself. So mine is always, despite what has happened, I'm going to have a positive outlook, and I'm going to believe in myself, and I'm going to move forward. And when you have more of a positive outlook and a positive mindset, you can open up doors and possibilities that you didn't think possible. Also, something that's really important that I use in my work with clients, and that is visualization. Let's play a game for a minute. You know, let's you and I visualize an incredible outcome for ourselves, for this show, for what we want to do. And part of that visualization it takes place in the mind. So we see it, we feel it, we're putting it out there, we look at it in terms of the steps, and it makes us feel good. And that's the goal that we strive for. So I use visualization for myself and also for my clients. It helps us program a little bit our minds as to what we want to expect. And what's interesting, and I studied this, Frank, is that what we tell ourselves, our inner consciousness, our subconscious believes, whether it's true or not. So if you say to yourself, I'm not going to amount to anything, or I can't do anything, that becomes not only what you're saying, that becomes part of the belief system and part of what your mind helps you to create as truth in our reality. That's pretty scary, isn't it? And yet it's pretty amazing at the same time.
It's terrifying to some folks. I've talked to so many people, Joanne, and they say, well, my environment and what I experienced, and at some point it's okay, time to grow up here. You got to stop blaming everybody on the planet, and you have to and get into that positive type of mindset. How do you encourage that?
Again, firstly, and I think this is important because what we're seeing right now, there's a lot of people who are angry, who are impatient, who are rude. I mean, I find that constantly every day. And the question is, how are you reacting to it? Better yet, how are you responding to it rather than reacting to it? Press that pause button a little bit. We have choices. Just because the guy, I had this experience the other day, Frank. I'm waiting in my car at a stop sign, like we're supposed to do. This very impatient person drives up around me, in front of me, and goes through it. Like, we could have had a crash. I could have done horrific things and screamed and cursed and even chased after him, but I paused and I breathed a lot, took some deep breaths and calmed myself and decided, you know what, hopefully he's okay, but I'm glad I'm safe. And when it was safe for me to move forward with, after, the rest of the traffic passed, I did so. So I think we don't have to react to everything around us or even to other people's beliefs about ourselves. We have choices, and we need to evaluate that a little bit. Do I want to hurt somebody? Do I want to believe, do I want to be angry and impatient like that guy? Or do I have a different choice that's more who I am and what I feel comfortable with? I hope I answered your question.
That was great. That was outstanding. I love the point you made about respond versus react. But with a number of people, and they say, well, it's the way you react to something. And I thought, because reaction is more like a knee jerk. Is that right?
Yeah, reactions like this. You don't even think about it. You just do it. And oftentimes when we just have that reaction, we can do things that later on in retrospect, we didn't appreciate how we behaved or how we acted. But if we respond, we have a choice. And we look at, again, I think values are important. Values are important in perseverance and also in how we're responding to situations. So those choices make a difference in how you behave. And why do we have to react so fast? What's the hurry? It's better to just right. But isn't it better to just pause a little bit and decide, okay, that guy was a little crazy and he's in a hurry there, but I'm not going to behave like him, because where's that going to get me? And what's the point? And what if it really gets me more hurt, right? I mean, so we have to think about that. And that's part of the choice, and responding versus reacting.
I love that answer. That's outstanding. And so how many times, think about yourself, folks, how many times have you said, God, I wish I hadn't said that, or I shouldn't have reacted that way? And that's and your knee-jerk reaction. A psychologist told me one time, Joanne, your knee-jerk reaction is usually not good.
I agree. And it doesn't get us where we want to, Frank, right? That's the whole point. And sometimes when we have that knee-jerk reaction that you said so beautifully, we're not happy with how we behaved. We're not proud of ourselves. It's kind of out of sync with who we are and what we really stand for.
I've heard you speak and write about dopamine. Okay, so what is it, and what's the relationship between dopamine and perseverance and people with perseverance?
So firstly, we have these incredible things going on in our brain, okay? And we can respond to them. So dopamine is an impulse. It's actually what happens in our brain that's triggered by something that goes on externally, but also internally. And what it does is it can create a whole sense of joy, a whole sense of positivity. It's like a wow, nobody said this before, but it's like a wow button in a positive way. Yes, 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 right? So when we create more of that positivity within ourselves, so stimulate those beliefs, we have that flow of dopamine coming into our brain and into our being and into our bodies, which makes us feel good, which makes us feel stronger, which actually helps with perseverance. Because if you don't feel good about yourself, if you feel like, okay, the world's against me and nothing good is going to happen, you're creating that also in your mindset. And also you're not having that happy, joyful flow of dopamine going on. And how does that make you feel? So when you're feeling like that, you feel dejected, and you don't feel like going forward. You don't feel like doing anything. You've given up. But when you feel good, when you feel upbeat, when you feel joyful and happy, you're more motivated to do whatever it is, whether it's exercise, whether it's writing a book, whether it's meeting a friend, whatever it is, there's more to you in terms of your energy, your positive energy that helps you move forward.
One of the things I hear from a lot of people, they'll come back and they'll say, well, this is just the way I am, or no matter what I do, it isn't going to change. Okay. And I hear this quite a bit, but you can, with this positivity, and I've read some of your stuff, that you can recreate or alter the neural pathways in your brain. Is that true?
That's definitely true. Okay. And I'll tell you a little bit about a story, okay, a personal story that relates to that. And I'm finally, I guess, old enough or mature enough to be able to share some of my stuff when I was younger. Okay. So, and I've written that in a chapter. I actually came in doing what's called mirror writing. So when I first began to write, I unintentionally did mirror writing, which means that people couldn't read it. My teachers couldn't read it unless they literally held it up to a mirror, because it was like all backwards. Now, I didn't know that there was anything wrong with it. I was just doing writing, but they believed that there was something wrong with me. And that actually went into my mindset, into my own belief system. And I had to work with that, Frank, for years, that feeling that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't going to amount to anything. And that actually was part of my life for some time. And then I said, wait a minute. I mean, I can't live like this. It means you don't want to do anything, because everything is a failure. Everything that you're going to attempt doesn't make any sense because it's not going to work. So I started to figure out ways of changing that. And I had to work with that really rigorously and vigorously to do so. But I did. And then I actually created a lot for other people too, because we can shift that, like you say. We don't have to stay stuck in a belief system that other people have for us, or even our own beliefs that we've based on what? Who knows? Somebody else's values, or a mistake that we made, or our parent yelling at us for something. We have those choices and we can do it. And once we do it, there's such a sense of freedom. And now my mind, instead of saying, Joanne, what's wrong with you? You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't walk down, blah, 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 blah. Because it was always filled with this negativity. Now, when I do something like finish a chapter or even a paragraph, good job, Joanne. And it's quiet and it's positive. And we have to do that for ourselves. Nobody else is going to be there to do that. We have to start that, and it makes a difference.
We have to start the process. Absolutely. Now, I just interviewed a gentleman named Larry Broughton, who is a Special Forces Green Beret.
Wow.
Really, one of the really tough guys out there in the world. And he said, one of the things that you have to have is some attaboys or attagirls in your life, and to surround yourself with people who will do that. And I've heard you say that sometimes you just have to walk away.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of people that may be judging you, envious of you, or not believe in you. And you really need to choose the people who are there to support you and also for you to support them, because you don't need to hear you can't do that. I mean, why would you even bother doing that? Think about all the inventions and things that we have in our lives today. If somebody said, well, you know, fly in an airplane, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Okay, computers, what? I mean, AI, right? So if we've stuck with that belief system that other people have, we would stay stuck. But there are also people that are our cheerleaders. So we have to, like you said, Frank, have them around us and also be there for them, but also be our own cheerleaders. That's important too, because at the end of the day, they're not going to be with you 24/7. You're going to be in your head and in your heart 24/7, and you have those choices.
I've heard you say you want to be true to yourself. Being true to oneself is a key component of perseverance. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, firstly, it's about what are your values? So when we're happiest, we're living our values. And you know, I did some research when I was doing something in terms of work performance. And many people who are in a job when their values about making money or helping other people or whatever their values are not in sync with their job, they don't perform well, or they don't want to stay in the job, or they don't feel good about what they're doing. And that plays into perseverance. So when you're happiest, joyful, and following your values and living them and making your life based on some of your values, like I believe that it's important to care for people and to help people and to look past differences. And I built a lot of my life and what I do based on that and have moved forward in that. And that makes me feel good. And it also keeps me going. So that's the perseverance, that keeps you going factor, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You have a great smile, Frank. I love it.
Thank you. That's why we moved from radio to TV, because nobody can see. Here's something I heard you say that I want you to explain. Perseverance through execution.
We could, yeah, you know, we could dream about things and think, wouldn't it be nice if I wrote a book? And there are many people that think that way, and you and I know that, right?
Absolutely.
But we could do that for most of our lives. What about if you took those steps, and it does involve steps, if you took those steps to move yourself forward, that's execution, even if it's a one step at a time, and being able to do that, hopefully to get to a place of completion. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel stronger about yourself. And again, it enhances your feeling of joy and your belief system. When I was going for my PhD, I wrote out all the steps. Well, first I was overwhelmed. I thought, there's no way. How do I do this? I mean, okay. So I figured out, let's write the steps. I must have had, Frank, about 100 and something steps. And initially I just looked at it and I thought, no way. How do you do that? I mean, you know, I got a time frame here. What? And then it's just like one step at a time. And I actually would check off each step. And eventually it was done. And I remember, and this is funny, I remember afterwards I had a dream. And in the dream, I was still working on the steps and they weren't getting done. And I woke up and I was getting really upset. And then I realized, Frank, wow, I did it. So, and that was such a sense of relief too. So I think execution is about taking action, moving forward, even if it's one step at a time. And people need to remember that you may not be able to do it all at once. You don't have to. But as you take one step at a time and give yourself some positive feedback for that, you can take the next step.
I think that's absolutely the magic, is when you get this giant list, of what you want to accomplish. And you, oh my God, I'll be 164 by the time I get there. But each time you check something off, you have a celebration
Right.
with yourself or with people that you're gone to help hold you accountable. Not like, well, you didn't do that. It's more like, yeah, Joanne, you can do this. Look what you have accomplished.
Right. And Frank, that's so important. And so it is about celebrating. You know, years ago, I used to work with kids with special needs. And oftentimes, if you're teaching a child to be able to tie his shoe, well, just the first one of the steps is be able to hold the shoestring in your hands. That's an achievement that you're holding it in both hands. Well, let's celebrate that for a minute, right? And let's not say, well, you didn't tie it, because then I'm going to give up. But it's like, yeah, look, you got the strings in your hands. Okay, let's see what, okay. And that's important. And, you know, so many people forget that. I work with clients and it's like, well, I didn't do that. Yeah, but look what you just did. Like you said, Frank, take that moment to just celebrate that one step that you did. Give yourself some credit, because when you do that, you're more likely to take the next step. You're encouraging yourself.
That's
And you
right.
said a great thing too, which is have other people encourage you. And we need that. So that's important.
That's amazing. Is I've heard people say, you know, what you have to do is make a decision, pick up the pieces if that's what you have to do, and start moving forward. And then they say, and stop looking behind you, because there's nothing new to see in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, except maybe failure or disappointment or whatever. And why do you want to go back there? You're so right. So it is about having that forward direction, which gives us the momentum to move forward. There are, excuse me, I believe infinite possibilities that we're capable of. And it's so important to see what's ahead of us rather than constantly going backwards. So you're so right.
Let's look at the other side of that coin. We both have dealt with business people, and particularly the entrepreneur type business people, right? And they have this shiny object model. Oh, I want to go over and do that. It's completely away from what their business is doing. But this looks good. I'm going to jump over here. How do you go back to the person, how do you keep them focused when they're always looking at, oh, I can go do that. I rather that. Look at how much fun that looks like.
Focus is important, but I'm also not going to say don't look at that object, because that may be something that the business is moving towards. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a goal, and it's important to create goals and for yourself and also your team and your work. And it's about following that goal to, you know, execution to its end. That's important. But again, what if that shining object is something that nobody else thought of before, or nobody even knew was possible, and it was a glimmer in our mind? So once I'm working towards this goal and finishing it and completing it, maybe there's something there that I need to take a look at, because maybe it's the next invention or the next spaceship, or I don't know.
Exactly. I've heard so many people deal with and say, yeah, I hear what you're doing, but what if? And I love those two words, what if? Do you see that in your practice?
Yeah. I mean, firstly, like I said, I think we have abilities beyond what we're aware of. And I believe in infinite possibilities within ourselves and within each other, and even hopefully being able to shift our world. So what if can open up incredible doorways, incredible ways of expanding the way we think, expanding how we see things. And I think if you look back in time, like in terms of, like I said earlier, inventions or people that said, what if, you know, what if I could do something that we could be able to have a telephone or electricity or, you know, whatever it is. If they didn't have that what if, where would we be today? in a lot of arenas. So I think that's important, but that doesn't mean that you don't go forward with your goals and don't move that forward, because you need to. And that also stabilizes us and grounds us to be able to then look at that what if and explore that.
I love that. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
We are running short on time here. So what last words do you want to leave with the audience around the world here today, Joanne?
That it's important to never give up. You know, even if in that failure, there may be one aspect of it that you can move forward to your ultimate success. And your belief system, the way that you feel about yourself, your way that you create more positivity for yourself can help you move forward and can help you reach your goals. And never give up. Never give up on you. Make sure that you find ways to celebrate, like you said so beautifully, celebrate even those little steps, Frank, and be able to move forward on those little steps, because those little steps can become the beautiful end result that you've been looking for.
That's a great way to end this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I said at the beginning, this is one incredibly accomplished woman. You need to be in touch with her. How do people get a hold of you, Joanne?
Okay, so my website, I'll give you the short version, is docwhite.org. I'm on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and basically you can email me, joanne@docwhite.org, or joanne@drjoannewhite.com. And I love reaching out to people. I love helping people. I believe I'm here to serve, as you believe that about yourself too, I know. And that's so reach out to me, contact me, let me hear from you.
And she's not kidding, ladies and gentlemen. When you send something to her in a LinkedIn or an email, you will get a response. It won't be just click like that. You know, she will respond and she will have something to say. And then you create this dialogue. And once the dialogue begins with Dr. Joanne White, it just continues on forever. It's just, this is somebody you have to know.
I feel the same way about you, Frank.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, we're just, as I said, we're just about out of time. I want to thank Dr. Joanne White one more time for this. She's dedicated her life to helping people overcome adversity and turn challenges into opportunities. This is someone you need to know. If you have not read her books, Dare to Dream, Women and Men Who Refuse to Let Their Dreams Die, or Mission Hope, Thriving to the Seasons of the Soul, go get them. They're on Amazon. Go get them. Get them today. It's simple. It's one click. Get these books. Now you can see this show on ROKU TV. You can also see it on my YouTube channel, which is also called Frank Zaccari. I will send a link to Dr. Joanne, and she will post it in all the places that she puts out her information. If you use my YouTube channel, please subscribe. Now, let me leave you with this, as we do every week. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Joanne has shown us where many of those rocks are. Join us again next week for another life-altering event. Joanne, thank you so much.
Frank, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed every moment of it.